Well, good afternoon again, and a pleasure to be with everyone. We were on the Samadhi path, that is chapter 1, Sutra 20. And Sutra 20 read as Shraddha, Virya, Smruti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvak Itaresham. And we went into this last time that the sage Patanjali is saying that all the others, Itaresham, they can reach to that state of Sampragnat Samadhi, Purvak, if they have practiced before, there's Shraddha, Virya, Smruti, Samadhi, Prajna. Either through these, each one of these five or these five in sequence. And we had gone through the words Shraddha, Virya, and we had done half of Smruti. So we'll do the other half today. And we'll look at the words Samadhi and Prajna. I just want to add a little bit here about Virya. Virya we took last time as energy. But Virya is also sex energy. And we will take three dimensions or three levels of sex energy. The physical part of sex energy, which we will call as Shukra. The psychological part of sex energy, which we will call as Virya. And the spiritual part of sex energy, which we will call as Ojas. Now, in normal man, all these three things are together. They are mixed up together. So the normal man has Shukra, and to a certain extent a little bit of Virya. But the yogi, he practices at different levels, and he wants to separate the Virya from Shukra and separate the Ojas from Virya. He wants to, we can't say separate, we will use the word transform the Virya into Ojas. Now, normally, the meaning of celibacy, or the normal meaning of celibacy or brahmacharya, would be not having sex, right? To remain a celibate. But that is a very superficial meaning. The yogi who has separated Virya from Shukra may indulge in physical sex, but in that physical sex, he is only releasing the physical part, Shukra, not releasing the psychological part, which is Virya. And so this is a higher form of celibacy, right? Not the normal celibacy which we talk about. Now, the food which we eat every day, it takes 24 hours to be digested. And the final outcome of the food is what we call sex energy. And that is crude sex energy. It's in a very crude form. It can get excited very easily. It can get attracted to something very easily. It's not a very stable form of sex energy. And to enter into celibacy without the transformation of that sex energy, it could lead to certain forms of repression, suppression, etc. So the idea is that can we, this which nature gives us automatically, the food we eat, and it after 24 hours it is sex energy, that which nature gives us automatically, can we raise this to a higher level of vibration? Can we increase the potency, the power of that sex energy, not in the sense of power of aggressiveness, but a soft kind of, different kind of power? So if we can practice Yoga Nidra every day, and when we rotate our attention through the body, and when we do it 31 times, then on the 31st day, supposing I take today, so I've eaten my food today, after 24 hours, that food becomes sex energy. And by doing this Yoga Nidra in the morning, where I'm running my attention, holding consciousness throughout the body-brain system, and moving in a certain rhythmic cycle, then on the 31st day, what I have eaten today will turn into a higher form of sex energy, which we can call as ojas, the spiritual sex energy. It transforms automatically. So I just wanted to introduce this practice. I think I've talked about it before, but there is always a time to remind people. So please do this practice, that in the morning when you're doing your Yoga Nidra, rotate your attention throughout 31 times, right? So we are transforming that basic crude sex energy into something higher, right? So the crude which comes out of the oil well, we transform it into aviation fuel or rocket fuel or something, right? Okay, now we'll go to the third word, which is smruti, and we did a part of this, smruti. Smruti, we saw, comes from the Sanskrit root smara or smru, both which mean to recall, to remember. So the content of memory may have a large content, but I can't remember, I can't recall it. So I have lost that power of recalling, right? And we must practice, last time we talked about this, the practice of recalling. Now, we said there are different kinds of memory, and we talked about how memory gets corrupted last time. Now there is a life memory, there is a work memory. Work memory itself is divided into two parts, that is memory of the work and work memory. So we are now going to look at memory from a different angle. Now the basis of this is that memory is a kind, smruti, the word smruti also means a kind of mindfulness. These days, mindfulness practices are getting very popular. And there can be no practice of mindfulness, or for that matter, any practice of meditation, whether it is self-remembering, self-observation, without smruti, without memory. So if I want to be mindful of, bring awareness to what I am doing, I have to remember to bring awareness to what most of us forget to bring awareness to what we are doing, right? So the very word to remember, to be aware, is that we are bringing mindfulness to the situation. Now, we want to go deeper into this. What is work memory? What is the spiritual memory? What is the memory of sadhana? Right? Now, before that, so we could, here make a statement and say that the smriti which Patanjali is talking about, it is a kind of samadhi. He's talking about a kind of samadhi. So it is that smriti which allows you to be aware. It allows you to self-remember. It allows you to self-observe yourself, to bring awareness to a situation, right? So then that smriti would be a samadhi, bring mindfulness. Now, before we can go into spiritual memory, we must have memory of spirituality or memory of the work. What are the basic tenets of the work? What are the basic tenets for a spiritual seeker? And he must memorize this. He must memorize this as if when he is in school, he is memorizing his tables or he's memorizing something, whatever, for an exam or etc. Now, we have a superficial mind, we have a middle mind, and we have a deeper mind. Whenever we are memorizing anything, and whenever we recall from that memory, it is always the superficial mind at work. Gurdjieff calls the superficial mind as Jack. He calls the inner mind as queen, and he calls the deeper mind as king. Many people, they don't think. They just repeat what they've memorized, right? And sometimes they could be interesting people because they have a whole dictionary or a whole library of old sayings of the old saints. And so every question you ask, everything you talk to them, they will come out with some saying, come out with something of some old tradition. But they don't realize that they are living in the very superficial part of their memory, or of the mind. Memory is in that superficial part. So when we learn what is spirituality, we go to a teaching, we go to a teacher, and we learn what it is all about, and we start memorizing the ideas which are given to us. They are done in the outer mind. And when we answer a question to somebody, if we are only repeating what is in the outer mind, we've not gone deeper in, we've not really put that into practice. So initially there is memory of the work, but then we start putting that memory into practice. Supposing we take one tenet of the work and we say, don't express negative emotions. Now, we realize that we are in a state of identification, a state of sleep, and the characteristic of that sleep is that we react. Something comes from outside, an event happens, we react. We have a thought inside, we react. Something from memory comes and we react. That person cheated me 10 days ago, we react. So in the mind, we are always reacting to something. And this reacting is happening automatically. So as long as we are reacting, there is no mindfulness to the situation. We are just reacting mechanically. We are in a mechanical state, right? Now, so whenever we are in a negative emotion, we can take all the negative emotions, like anger, jealousy, vanity, justification, right? Self-love. Of course, self-love is the basis of all negative emotions. So whenever we are hypnotized in a negative emotion, we are reacting, and we are at a very low level of life. We are nearly dead, just at that level that we are living. And so when we realize this, we start working on our negative emotions. We start working on our negative emotions. They want to come in, let them come in. We start working upon our negative emotions. So I'm about to get angry on someone, and I pause that anger, I stop over there, and I start separating from that anger. As I practice this many, many times, I will see that at certain points, I will get glimpses where I'm totally free of the inner pattern of anger, when I'm totally free of that sanskar of anger. And at that moment, that which was given to me as to memorize, that don't express negative emotions, I have put it into practice a number of times. And suddenly from memory of the work, it has become work memory. It is a memory of my experience in implementing the ideas of the work. I hope I'm coming across in this way, right? So work memory is a collection of my experiences in implementing the work. I put the work into practice. We can take another tenet of the work, that supposing the work says that like what it dislikes. So the work says that all violence in life has dislike as its seed. Without dislike, there can be no violence in life. And as long as we dislike, we are living violently. And a yogi comes to a state, a person who's practicing on the spiritual path, he comes to a state when there are no dislikes left in his life. Right? So now he cannot react to anything. He is free of the mechanical pattern of reacting. Now, we start working on dislike. And one day, just a small thing, maybe it is a food which we eat, and we work upon it, and we eat that food, and there is no dislike inside. In that moment, we are free of one dislike. Suddenly, we have this inner feeling of being elevated, of being free from something. It is like a small moksha, what we feel. And in that moment, we realize what the work was saying, we have implemented it, and we have realized it through practice. So there is memory of the work. Don't express negative emotions. We have practiced that and made it our own experience. And when it becomes our own experience, it becomes work memory. This is a new kind of memory, a totally different kind of memory. It does not occupy the outer mind like all our other memory, all that we mugged up at school. It occupies an inner mind. And this work memory then leads to the deeper part of the mind where we experience understanding. We were told by the teacher to do this. We were told by the work to do this, by the teachings to do this. We practiced this and we realized it. In the deeper mind, there's a flash of understanding, right? So this is the way Smriti works. It has suddenly brought a mindfulness, an awareness to the whole pattern of anger, the whole situation of anger. Suddenly it has become a part of our inner experience. See, when we talk to people and when we are talking about spirituality and we talk about the work, and when they answer, when they reply, we know, from inside that is this coming from the memorized part of the mind, the outer part of the mind, Or is it coming from somewhere deeper where that person has put it into practice, experienced something, and he's saying something out of that? One of the, what do you call, characteristics we can say is that when a person talks from the deeper part of the mind, from the experiences, he may be talking on the same subject today, he may talk on the same subject tomorrow, he may talk on the same subject the day after tomorrow. If I'm talking from the outer part of the mind, I'll keep on repeating the same words, the same, what do you call, what the work, the memory of the work. But if he's talking from a deeper part of the mind, there will be always something new over here, something new over there. That is his own experience, which he is adding to the words of the work, right? And then we know that the work has gone, the practices have gone into a deeper part of the mind. So by practicing the tenets of spirituality, the teachings which our teachers give us, by putting that into practice, we create a new memory of the work, and deeper inside, we get flashes and flashes of deeper and deeper understanding of why the Guru told us to do this in this way. And it is this understanding which is a form of samadhi. This understanding is a form of spruti. So he says, you see, these five which Patanjali is talking about are upais. That is, they're techniques. Technique of Shraddha, faith, technique of Virya, technique of Smriti. And through those practices, we have reached a state of inner understanding, which he calls Sampragnat Samadhi. And now, one of the examples which I repeat most of the time, I'm going to just repeat it to give you some idea of the work memory, and then we'll go a little deeper into work memory. Is supposing I repeat the same thing to you every day, right? I say, oh, I went to school here, I went to college here, right? This is what I did in school, this is what I did, and this is what I did in my life. And then you come tomorrow again, and I repeat the same thing. And day after you come again, and I repeat the same thing. One day you will tell me, that's enough, I've heard it, I know what you're talking about. This, I know what you're talking about, is mindfulness. What we call Genetical Change in Gujarati. Andar koi na, somebody knows that knowing factor inside. Now, try to see this, that we have practiced with anger, and we've practiced many, many times, and we've created a new, what do you call, memory of our experiences of practicing with anger. And you say something to me, you upset me, right? Or you insult me, whatever. And I'm on the verge of getting angry. And then this memory, this very collection of memory, hang on a bit, it will bring mindfulness to the situation. You have got angry 1,000 times before. Where do you want to get angry 1,001 times? And suddenly the whole situation changes. It is this work memory which we have collected, which brings mindfulness to the situation, right? And the minute that happens, our understanding goes deeper, much deeper. Please remember that when we die, this collection of understanding, this deep collection of understanding which we've got, it's going to go carry forward with us. It's the most important thing in our lives. Now, I want to go a little deeper into this. What is the future? Is the future just a repetition of the past? Please understand, the events in the future can change. It's not a repetition of events. It's a repetition of the seed which invites an event. Now, supposing I'm growing radishes, right? And there'll be many types of radishes. There'll be the scarlet globe, there'll be the crimson red, there'll be the purple, what do you call the pearly white, etc., etc. So I sow a seed of radish, but I don't know which radish it's going, but it's going to invite a radish. It's not going to invite a brinjal or something, right? I sow a seed of a radish, whether it's going to invite the crimson red or it's going to invite the pearly white, or I don't know. Now, because this time it invited the crimson red and next time it invited the pearly white, I think the events are what you call different. The event is not different. It is the same seed which is inviting. So each seed which we sow on this path of karma, right, it has a spectrum of events which it is going to invite. It has a spectrum of vibration from where it can invite an event. Right? But definitely if I sow a seed of pain, if I sow a seed of restlessness, I sow a seed of dislike, I sow a seed of taking revenge upon somebody, right? It's not going to invite happiness. It cannot invite happiness. It will invite something within its own spectrum, right? So when we say what is the future, the events of future may change, but the seeds don't change unless we have burnt those seeds, unless we have risen to a different level of consciousness, not allowing those seeds to operate at our level of consciousness. I hope I'm coming across in this, right? So the future is nothing but a repetition of the past. A repetition of the past. Because we keep on sowing the same seeds. We feel that I met somebody new. We feel that something new happened in my life, right? Because we are always searching for excitement. But really, it's not true. We are still sowing the same seed. I want more excitement. So everything in life, it revolves in cycles. What we call the past is nothing but the invitation to the future. That is, everything comes round, and it comes round at periodic intervals. And these intervals can be observed and known. And I suddenly realized that I'm in a certain cycle, and the next step in this cycle is, saying some bad words to somebody or saying some foul language to somebody. And even before the event happens in my life, which is going to trigger that, I know beforehand that this cycle is going to repeat. Now the work memory has gone much deeper inside. Even before the event has come in my life, it is throwing light upon the event. And this is the beauty of work memory. So Patanjali says that we can achieve samadhi, sampragnat samadhi, through smriti, right? By right use of memory, and by bringing right mind, recalling it in a way that brings right mindfulness to a situation. Now, the next word which you use, the next upai, is samadhi. Please better put all our understanding of the word on the side for some time. Otherwise, we may think of some yogis going into trance or something of that sort, right? And there are books written where yogis go into trance for 2 years and come out of that samadhi. He's not talking about that. He's talking about transformation of something called the mind, right? And we are going to talk about that. I'm just going to go into the word first. Why I'm going to go into the word, and then I'll try to explain the process. Because I had a chance to discuss this word with my son, and he was trying to open out this word for me, samadhi. So what we discussed, I'd just like to repeat it a little before going further. Sam, a, dha. Samadhi. The normal meaning, the literal meaning of the word samadhi is to collect, to concentrate, concentration of one subject, absorption or meditation. Now, sam means putting something together, collecting something together. A is to give it direction, and dha is to hold it in place. Putting something together, collecting something together. Now, even though the root is dha, but it is used in the sense of samadhiyate, that is where dhi also means the intellect. Dhi also means the intellect. Even though the word is samadhi, the root is dha, but it is again used as dhi in samadhiyate. So we collect something from all sides. We take it in a certain direction, and then we hold it over there. Now, this holding is not just the holding. In this holding, there is a sentiment of completion. There is a sentiment of what you call something is finished, perfectness, of perfection, we can say, sentiment of perfection. And how is that sentiment of perfection achieved? By collecting something, putting it in a certain direction and holding it there. Now, supposing we just give you a simple example, that supposing we are in my garden, there is a hole, and I want to fill that hole. So I collect mud from everywhere, I collect mud from everywhere. I take it in the direction and put it in the hole. And then I let it remain there. I hold it over there. I let the, mud be there. But in this dha, there is a sentiment of completion, of perfection. So if the hole is not completely filled, it is not samadhi as yet. Am I coming across with this? Right? So there is a collecting of something, taking it in a direction, putting it in the hole. But if I leave the hole, this much empty, unfilled, then it's not samadhi. There must be a sentiment of I have completed the task, I have perfected the task. Now, the movement of the verb to the verb to the word, what they call vyutpatti in Sanskrit. It is samadhiyate asmin mano jane. Now let us just go into it. It's very interesting, very, very interesting. I hope you are with me. You're not getting bored with this, right? Jane means those who are born, of those who are born, of those who are born. or by those who are born, not of those, they of the mind, born, they do something with the mind, samadhiyate, to bring the state of perfection, to bring the state of completion, to bring the state of absorption or meditation. So now what is the mind? The mind is thoughts. The mind is thoughts. Now our thoughts are in all directions. They are in this garden of the mind. They are lying all over the place, right? So we are now collecting all our thoughts. Taking them in a certain direction. And asmin mano jane. Mano means man, but something which is not believed, but something which is understood. Manya, which I've understood. It is something which is not believed. Now, supposing you tell me that yesterday somebody, what do you call, put it on YouTube that Amitabh Bachchan was in hospital. So then I switched on the TV to see the news, and nothing in the news that. So, it is now, if I was to take that Amitabh Bachchan is in the hospital, and then I would repeat to her that Amitabh Bachchan is in the hospital, it is something which, it is a thought which is believed in. Can you understand? Right? But if I confirmed it through the TV, if I saw, then maybe it is not just believed in, it is a thought which has a little bit of understanding. Can you get what I'm saying? Most of our thoughts are believed in, they're not from understanding. That is, our thoughts rarely come from understanding. Most of our thoughts, what we have collected, are those which are believed in, right? I read something in a book, I believe it. Something somebody has told me, I believe it. I hear a lecture on TV, I believe in it. Everything is believed in. So, to collect all these thoughts, which are all kinds of directions, right? We collect all those thoughts and we give it a direction towards understanding. And we come to a state where we have transformed all our thoughts from believed in to thoughts only of understanding. This is a transformation of the mind. Samadhi. So that is, we just went into the word. Now we'll just go into the process of thinking a little. So we'll try to understand how we can come about this. When all our thoughts are born out of understanding, it is a state of inner clarity. It is a state of what we call samadhan, what we call in this thing. I have understood samadhan thai gyu che man, what I say, right? All the thoughts are born out of understanding. Now, what is the fundamental nature of the mind? The fundamental nature of the mind is to discriminate. Of the intellect is to discriminate. So, and at a lower level, we call this discriminating capacity of the mind as comparison. We compare with it. So, if I see a person standing next to a tree, I must be able to discriminate that this is a person and this is a tree. And it is this faculty of the mind which allows me to discriminate. Right? Supposing I am taking a hammer and I'm hammering into the nail into a piece of wood or something, I must be able to discriminate that this is my thumb and this is the nail. If I can't discriminate that, then the hammer is going to go somewhere else, right? So this basic quality of the mind is to discriminate. And when this goes into negativity, it goes into comparison. I say you have more money than I have, right? It goes into comparison. And there it is. Comparison is a state of identification. Now, there is a fine line between discriminating and comparing. We have reached a state where all our thoughts are born out of comparison. We rarely have a thought born out of discrimination. So we are slaves of this mechanical habit of comparison. And these thoughts, when these thoughts are transformed, it is the state of samadhi. Whether it is you have more money than me, or you have better clothes than me, you have more knowledge than me, you have more experiences than me. See, all this comparison leads to the creation of the ego. Right? So this is a mechanical habit of the mind to compare. And we have to observe that mechanical habit of the mind in comparing. And takes a long time. It's not going to, overnight, we are not going to be able to do this. So whenever we observe ourselves and we become aware of the situation, and we realize we are moving into thoughts born through comparison, we pause over there, we stop over there. We don't want to follow this path. We don't want to make friends with these thoughts. They're going to take us to a very wrong movie in town. They're going to take us to the wrong part of town where somebody is going to rob us or something. You know, these are not thoughts to go with, right? So we keep on practicing that whenever we are automatically comparing things, we pause over there. We want to discriminate between a class of this and a class of that. We don't want to compare unless the comparison is necessary for the enhancement of our knowledge, the enhancement of our consciousness. That doesn't mean we want to lose the power of comparison, but we don't want it to happen automatically. So we hold it down to a minimal, just the amount needed for the formation of a thought. Now, as we practice this, I'll take this from another angle, then go further. We can take this from another angle also. Try to try to divide our thoughts into two parts. The thoughts that come to me and the thoughts that I think. And now supposing you owe me 100 rupees, right? And I see you, then automatically it's going to come to me that this person owes me 100 rupees. That thought has come to me. It's in spite of me, it's so fast. But if I start thinking that thought, that this person has not been returning my money for 6 months, or etc., then the thought came and I got identified and I started thinking the thought. I hope I'm coming across in this. Can you understand? Right? Now, or somebody says there's a new James Bond movie in town. Right? So the thought comes, oh, a James Bond movie. But immediately, I must see this movie as fast as possible. Right? So there was a thought which came and there was a thought which I thought. Now, can I draw a line over there? I don't want to think. I allow what comes. I'm not bothered about what comes. Right? I'm not bothered about the people who pass on the road in front of my house. But if I think of those people, then instead of them remaining on the road, I'm inviting them inside and giving them a cup of tea. So any number of people can pass by my house. That's okay with me. But I don't want to invite somebody in my house. So we draw this line in our lives that I'll only think when it is necessary. I won't go on this automatic, process of where one thought leads to another, this chain reaction of thoughts, this one association leads to another. You know how it goes. I see you in a store and you have a beautiful red shirt, and I say, oh, I have a red car. And then I say, I forgot to clean the car. And then, oh, tomorrow I have to go driving over there. But that person who cleans the car is not going to come for 3 days. Oh, I should have thought before I, employed him. I'm paying him too much, etc., etc. So the thought came that you, from the red shirt, I saw the red car, pause over there. That one association came automatically. And we have thousands of associations inside, and they just link one thing to the other, and we are totally unaware of it, right? So that association came automatically. We paused over there, we stopped over there. I say, I don't want to think this further. Stop over there. If it's necessary, I'll think. But if it's not necessarily, I don't want to go on to this trip of one thought leading to another thought. So we can do it in two ways, that we divide thoughts which come and thoughts which we think. That is one way. And we can practice both. And whenever we are automatically comparing, right, just pause over there. I don't want to go on this trip of comparing. Now, when we are in the gap, we have a thought, but we are not thinking it further. There will be moments when we will be in a gap. We start, the process of comparing starts, and we pause over there. We don't allow it to go further. Then we will experience a small gap over there. And in that gap, there will be an experience of no content in the mind. What in very not proper language is called thoughtlessness. It is not thoughtlessness, right? But the thoughts are there, but I'm not in the process of inviting anyone in my home, right? And so it's a moment where there is no content in the mind. My house is empty. And when this happens, a new intelligence opens up within us. And this intelligence later on Patanjali is going to call as Vivek, the discrimination of what is higher and what is lower, that which can lead us to a higher state of consciousness, that which will lead us to a lower state of consciousness, that which is Purush and that which is Prakriti. Different perception will open up within us. And as we keep practicing this, this will grow in every pause of the mind. This is a higher function. And it is this higher function which will start opening within us. Last time we talked about Sat and Asat, how a person says that I only speak the truth, but only speak the truth is a part of the ego, right? We talked about that. So suddenly we'll be able to discriminate that just speaking the truth, if it leads to a, increasing the ego, then we are on the wrong path. We are on the path of dissolving the ego. So Suddenly, this higher discrimination will open up, that this path will lead to what you call expansion of the ego. This path will lead to dissolving of the ego. This path will lead to a higher state of consciousness. This path will lead to more peace and happiness. This path will lead to more pain and suffering. Right? That higher discrimination capacity will suddenly flower in that small pause between thinking a thought and having a thought, between the process of starting to compare and pausing the comparison. And in this state, slowly our eyes will open up to seeing things in relativity. We suddenly, in those gaps, we have moments of comprehension where we see that everything is exactly the way it can be and not otherwise. And we'll have a sudden glimpse of that, right? If somebody has insulted me, then that insult was needed in this moment, and that's why he insulted me. It is a part of this whole universal whole, this whole cosmic mind, right? And something would be incomplete if he had not done it. And this is very difficult to accept. It is very difficult to comprehend also. So we see things in a state of relativity according to their function, not in a state of comparison any longer. So samadhi, we have collected our thoughts, we've taken them in a certain direction and we have placed them there, and it gives us a sense of completion. That sense of completion is that moment of expansion of the new discriminating capacity. Now we go a little further into this, a little deeper into this. Everything in life which is seen by the senses, experienced by the senses, what we call in life as phenomena, is caused by something else. What we see through our senses is not the cause of things, we see the effects of things. There are two planes of life. The senses live, the five senses live at the level of effects. The mind lives at the level of cause. But as long as the mind is totally identified with what is happening with the senses, it cannot perceive the cause. It only perceives the cause through the effect. So my senses see that you are getting angry upon me. My senses see that you are using bad language with me. My senses see, or we can say my ear hears, whatever, is that you're insulting me or demeaning me in a certain way. Now, this is at the level of effect. Now, as long as I live at the level of effect, I'm going to say you're the cause. Who are you to get angry upon me? You have no right to get angry upon me. Don't you know who I am? Right? And you are the cause of getting angry upon me. Now, at a certain level, the mind, if it is detached from the senses, and Patanjali calls this state of detachment as pratyahar, which we will go into later on. And the mind will see that the cause is not your getting angry upon me. The cause is my sanskars have invited this situation in my life. It is not your fault, it is my fault that you are getting angry upon me. This is very difficult to digest, right? But suddenly we realize that the cause of you treating me in this way, the cause of what do you call, is because of me, what I am, my vibrational tone, my inner, what do you call, spectrum of sanskar has invited this. Suddenly now I am looking at life through causes rather than effect. Right? We look at effect through life through effects. We don't look at life through causes. Someone has fallen in love. We'll say, oh, she's so beautiful. That is why he has fallen in love. Maybe it's true also. I don't know. Right? But at a certain different level, you'll see something totally different. And you'll realize that this is, I'm thinking through the senses, here I'm thinking through the mind. The two ways of thinking, the higher form of thinking. I remember in the last 2 years, Tavaria Sahib used to get a lot of letters from people. And in those letters, they would, explain their problems of life. And I would open all the letters, I would read them, and he would give me in one line an answer. I had to then reply to that letter using my own, what do you call, intelligence, which whatever I understood of that one line which he, what do you call, gave to me. Now, see, there's this one letter. I've fallen in love with this guy. I don't know what to do. Should I go ahead or should I not go ahead? So say, tell her to cut it off immediately. That's it. Of course, he never explained why he said anything, right? Then somebody is saying, okay, I'm married. My husband is also a very nice person, but I've fallen in love with this person. What do I do? And you tell me, you write to her, go ahead, that has to go to completion. So I'm sitting like this. I said, just yesterday, you told me in the same situation to reply in this way. Why are you telling me in this situation to reply in this? Can you see, I am looking at life through the senses. He's looking at life through something else. Saying, no, but this falling in love which has happened has come from the past life, right? And she has to complete it. Otherwise, she's going to carry forward that sanskar. That sanskar has to be fulfilled in this life. Now, that is something which is beyond my level of what do you call, I could see. So, but can you see there's two levels at which the same problem may have different answers. Because now you're thinking from causes, you're not thinking from effects. So there must be this movement from thinking through effects to thinking through causes. This is how we are progressing towards that state of samadhi. So, supposing we are watching a detective serial, right? And some of the detective serials are excellent serials. Right? And there is a dead body, and the detective is looking at everything at the dead body. I don't know if some of you have seen the serial The Mentalist, beautiful serial, right? And he's looking at the dead body, but he's thinking from causes, he's not thinking from effects. He's looking at the cause through the mind, where what could have happened that the dead body is in this situation. Now, let's take samadhi in a different way. That there is new knowledge flowing in through the senses each moment, new information flowing in through the senses each moment. The mind collects all that information and tallies it with old information which is already lying in the memory. Now, this arrangement of new information to old information must be done in such a way that it leads to the right cause. It leads to a different level of understanding. If it has led to the right cause, there is samadhi. If there is what do you call it leads to the wrong cause, then it is the vritti of incorrect knowledge. Let us go into this a little. Supposing the detective sees the body, the dead body, and then he has this list of suspects, and he sees that, okay, this suspect had blood on his hands, this suspect had this, right? So he must be the murderer. And that person is not the murderer. So looking at the effects, the new information which came in the mind tallied it with old experience and old knowledge, but the outcome was wrong. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? The outcome was wrong, then it is not samadhi. Then samadhan nathi thiyu. It has not led to clarity. Can you get what it must lead to the murderer. Then the tally of new knowledge to old knowledge has been done in the right way, in the right order. You have collected things, put them in a direct, and you've held them in a certain order, samadhi. And try to understand that all problems of life, all suffering in life, all the misery of life, all the pain of life is by using the mind which sees the effect and comes to the wrong cause. Can you understand? You insulted me, you're a useless person. I've come to the wrong cause. This country attacked this country, right? This country was threatening he's in the wrong cause. Every conflict of life, whether it is between father and son, whether it is between daughter and mother-in-law, whatever, from on any scale, from countries to anything, it is because you have seen the effects, you have at the level of the senses, you have seen the effects, you've understood something, and it has led you to the wrong cause. And this inner movement of taking in new knowledge, collecting new knowledge, putting it in the right direction in the mind, where it leads us to the right cause of something, this is samadhi. This is samadhi. To come to the right causes of something. So we have seen two levels of thinking. The level of the senses, and the level of the mind. But there's something even deeper, much, much deeper. And that is what Mr. Tavaria used to call as motive. The cause of the cause. The cause of the cause. So there is effect. That effect could have many, many causes. And all those causes, behind all those causes, there could be one cause of cause. And when we reach the cause of cause in our lives, it suddenly transforms the whole mind. It brings everything into a different perspective. Our whole perception of life changes in that moment. I'll give you an example. It's not a right example, but it will give you some idea of what we want to talk about. And there were these two very famous psychiatrists. The father of modern psychology, Sigmund Freud, and what was the name of his disciple? Carl Jung, and Jung. And they were traveling in a train in America. They were on a trip to America, and they were traveling in the train. And Jung, I mean, Freud was his teacher, but Freud had this thing within him that suppressed sex was the cause of everything. I mean, and don't throw this away immediately. Can you see the cause of cause, right? Now, he had come upon something beautiful. I mean, really, it may not be absolutely true, but it gives us a sort of insight into what he's talking about, what we want to talk about. So I'll say that I have a family, I have a wife and 2 children. And of course, I have to pay for education. I have to pay the electricity bills every month. So I must earn some money. So the effect is I bring some money at home, right? And the cause is that it is needed to feed the stomach, it is needed to pay the bills, etc. And there could be many causes, that paying the bills, feeding, paying the school fees, getting the clothes, many causes. Now, what is Freud saying over here? Freud is saying that man thinks that he's earning money to pay the bills, but he's not. That is why he goes on this trip of earning money. He wants to earn money, but he's not actually earning money to pay the bills. He's in this endeavor to earn money because there is suppressed sex within him. Can you get what I'm trying to say? So he came to something called the cause of cause. He was not right. That is a different matter, but it gives us a perspective on what we want to talk about. And of course, Jung and Freud had a big argument in the train where Jung tried to explain to Freud that what you're saying is not absolutely true. Freud would not budge an inch, and that is when they separated. So this cause of cause is what is called as motive. And we cannot see motive. It is way beyond our level of consciousness. It takes maybe a lifetime to come to a state where we see motive. Let us go into this in a different way. Am I coming across in this? I hope, yeah. I think we should attach the wire to it here. Let us take 2 people who have been together from childhood. They went to the same school, went to through the same education, the same teachers. So you see, the cause of their education is the same, right? multiple causes, the teachers, what is taught in class, etc., etc. The schools, they went through the same college. And when they come out of college, one wants to use the same knowledge. The effect is the knowledge. The cause is the school, the teachers, whatever. One wants to use the knowledge to become a social worker in a village and help the poor people and all that. And the other wants to use the knowledge to join a political party and become a minister so he can, control people. Can you see? The cause is the same, but in both of them, the cause of cause was lying deep within him. One wanted to become something, a minister or something. One wanted to go to help poor people. So the cause of their education was the same. The cause of cause in both of them was totally different. But it became apparent after maybe 25 years or 30 years that even when he was going to school, when he was a young child inside 5 years, 6 years, he started going to school. There was this deep desire to control people, to earn money, to take part in the politics of life. It was lying over there. It expressed itself after 25 years, but the cause of cause was lying there. And in the other, the cause of cause was to help other people. Yeah. So we see this on 3 levels: the son, the effect, the father, the cause, and the grandfather, the cause of cause or the motive. It's very beautifully depicted in the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Arjun says, and there Arjun could see fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, cousins, sons, nephews, grandnephews, friends, father-in-laws, and well-wishers. That whole scene of that part of the Gita is so beautiful. Arjuna asks Krishna that you please take my chariot in between the 2 armies. That is, so Krishna, very sly person, Krishna. He takes it between the 2 armies, but he takes it at exactly that spot where Bhishma, Drona, and the others were standing, so that he could see his deepest attachment and his deepest weaknesses. Right? And he says, see, Arjun, all what you wanted to see, the army of Kurus, they are all over here. Of course, there is no direct talk in the first chapter. Everything is through the words of Sanjay. Right? And then Sanjay says Arjun could see fathers, grandfathers. So now let us take this at a different level. He's seeing what is in his mind. The cause of cause. Right? Teachers, those thoughts which bring new information. Right? Maternal uncles, those thoughts which bring restlessness, those thoughts which bring desires. Brothers, those thoughts which bring comparison. Cousins, those thoughts which bring jealousy. You see, in that one scene, suddenly the whole content of the mind is opened up unto Arjun. Of course, he couldn't stand it any longer and he went into depression. That is a different thing. He went into depression, he went into Vishad. But what I'm trying to say is that there is, when the mind opens up, suddenly all this opens up and we collect all these thoughts, our fathers and grandfathers and our teachers and maternal uncles and brothers, we call cousins and sons and etc. We collect all of them, take them in one direction and bring them to one point of completion, that is samadhi. So that is the third, the higher level of thinking from effects, thinking from causes, thinking from the cause of causes, the deeper motive in each life. A question which we should ask ourselves whenever we are doing anything: what is my deeper motive in doing this? It's going to be difficult, take some time, but as we observe, we'll come to where our deep motive lies. Now, let us go to one more level. One more, then we'll take the next word, prajna. What is the universal cause of everything? What is the universal cause of everything? And is our motive a part or a particular in that universal cause? So our cause of cause, is it a small particular which forms the universal cause of everything? Of course, we can't live at that level of universal cause. We have to come back to our level of comparison and all to live our lives. But there are certain states where we'll get a glimpse of that universal cause of everything. We, in Shastras, we have a way of saying it. Okay, how was this universe made? And they say, any ichha shakti thi bani. It is his desire energy which created the universe. So what was that desire energy to take everything to a higher plane of consciousness? Everything is moving. Everything is moving. If we are not moving, we are stagnating, right? And either we are climbing the ladder or we are falling down from the ladder. So in this movement to a higher, the sun wants to enter into a higher state of something else. The moon wants to become something like the earth. The earth wants to become something like the sun. Everything is in this constant upward movement on the spiral of humanity and life. And that is the universal cause. Even if, now let us take this word consciousness out and instead just replace it for the time being with the word happiness. So instead of everything moving to a higher state of happiness, everything is moving to, sorry, a higher state of consciousness, everything is moving to a state of happiness. Everything wants happiness. If a depressed person is committing suicide, in that universal cause, he is seeking happiness. I hope I'm coming across with this. If somebody is murdering somebody else, in that universal cause, he is seeking happiness. He thinks by murdering this guy, I'm going to be a happy person. Whether his thinking is wrong or not is a different matter. But in that universal movement, in that universal cause, all our small motives, they become particulars in that universal cause. And sometimes in that state, when we go into this deeply, we are thinking of this deeply from effect to cause and cause to cause of cause, and then from cause of cause to universal cause. We may get a glimpse of this whole movement of life, God's desire energy moving in a certain direction towards that state of completion, towards that state of perfection, towards that state of consciousness, towards that state of happiness. And it may, people who are not ready for this, they may just fall into a state of depression or madness also. So we've taken the word samadhi. The last word which Patanjali uses here is prajna. All right. Pra meaning the beginning, pra meaning to go forth, and gna meaning knowledge. The going forth of knowledge, the going forth of knowledge. Now, in a state of discrimination, which was in our previous state of samadhi, the higher state of discrimination, there was still dvait. There was still a sense of duality. But in prajna, there is no duality. Now you transcended the duality. So in discrimination, I discriminate between this and that. There is still that higher form of comparison. That's right. Even in that higher state of samadhi. But in prajna, you just know the expansion of knowledge, but not just expansion of knowledge with consciousness. They both move together. And when consciousness and knowledge move together, there comes to a state of direct knowing, direct perception. I've been very fortunate in the fact that I joined college in Bombay in 1973. And from 1974, from college to law college, and all those years, Krishnamurti used to come to Bombay in January of every year, and he used to give 2 lectures at the JJ School of Arts. And in all those years, I never missed a single lecture of Krishnamurti. And after passing out, I remember my cousins used to call me, and every year we would make a program of coming to Bombay and listening to Krishnamurti. And this went on till Krishnamurti left in 1986. Now, there's a beautiful book, 1001 Lunches with Krishnamurti. And it's written by his cook, Michael something, I can't remember his surname. Actually, it happened that I was in Ojai some years ago, and I visited the Krishnamurti cottage over there. And this Michael was sitting in the office, and we started talking. And he, gave me this book, and he signed it for me. And the book was lying with me, and I think one day I had to go from Greensburg to Boston, and I could have reached a couple of hours, 6-7 hours by car, but I left at 8 in the morning and reached Boston at 10 in the night because my flight was delayed, and I was sitting at Washington Airport most of the day, and I finished this book over there at Washington Airport, and I was so happy because if the book would have just lied with me, I have not read it if I had not been, stopped at Washington Airport with this big delay. And in that, one of the sentences which Krishnamurti makes, Krishnamurti tells him to bring some cream from the, market when he's going to the town. And he says, bring this. So he says, if you don't get this, you get, no, just this. So, but you don't have another choice? Michael asked Krishnaji. You don't have another. So Krishnaji makes a beautiful statement, which he says, I have never made a choice in my life. Where there is clarity, there is no choice. This is the state of prajna. You just know it is this. There is no question of comparing it with anything else. Can you get what I'm trying to say? It is now there is no need for discrimination. The very basic faculty of the mind, you transcend that faculty of the mind and you come to a state of direct. He just knows that this is it and that's it. So now we see life through the 5 senses. But when we see life through the 5 senses, we don't exactly see life as it is. There is this whole inner structure of the ego, conditioning, everything, which projects our, our opinion of what comes in through the senses. So we are not We never see exactly life through the senses. What comes in through the senses, we have already projected something upon that. And we veil the truth in this. As we work upon the ego, we work upon our conditionings. We go in from our moods to our associations, to our thinking, to our habits, to our contradictions, to our inner conditionings, to our attitudes. When we go level by level and bring consciousness to each level inside, a level comes where now there is no attitude towards life. Now we are not seeing anything through a habit. Suddenly, what is coming in is pure clarity. We are not projecting anything on what is coming in through the senses. That is the state of prajna. There is expansion of knowledge, there is expansion of consciousness. So we experience reality without projecting our dream upon that reality. I think 5-10 more minutes. I'll take up 5-10 more minutes. Yeah. Now, so this is the state of prajna. Now, we'll go back to what Gurdjieff says, that man has 3 fundamental faculties: consciousness, attention, and will. These are the fundamental faculties which man possesses, the soul possesses. I mean, through centuries, every philosopher, from scientists to yogis, have tried to explain what is consciousness. What is consciousness? As students of spirituality, our aim is to reach a higher state of consciousness. That is, the Guru tells us that we are in a state of sleep, we are in a state of reaction, we are not fully awake. And as we drop our reactions, as we drop our negativity and rise to higher levels of consciousness, we wake up from this dream of life. Otherwise, we are projecting that dream onto reality every moment in life. So, spirituality says that this movement towards consciousness is the movement from darkness to light. But what is consciousness? Is consciousness a psychological process? But it is not. It is not a thought. It is not a feeling. It is not a sensation. It is not a movement. It is not memory. It is not sex. It is through consciousness that we become aware of our thoughts. It is through consciousness that we become aware of our feelings. It is through consciousness that we can observe our movements. It is through consciousness that we can study the, properties of sex energy. So all these are not consciousness. They are the objects of consciousness or the contents of consciousness. Like we said, thoughts were the content of mind, but mind itself is a content of consciousness. Now, in his journey, consciousness becomes attached to objects of consciousness. I become attached to my thoughts. I become attached to my feelings, etc. I become attached to objects outside. So the whole spiritual journey for the student is nothing but separation of consciousness from the object of consciousness. Now, how is this done? So he can hold a state of consciousness devoid of the objects of consciousness, no thought, no feeling, no sensation, no memory, no sex. This is the state of enlightenment. It is in this state when consciousness is totally free of any content that it can see reality as it is. Now, supposing we were to ask ourselves, what is it that allows consciousness to become aware of objects, of the objects of consciousness? So, it is attention which is the torch of consciousness. So, we go in a dark room, right? And there is a chair in the dark room, but only if I throw light upon that chair do I know that that chair is. So consciousness has thought as a content of consciousness. In the room of consciousness, in the field of consciousness, there is a thought, but consciousness becomes aware of that thought by throwing attention on that thought. So here now Gurdjieff is talking about fundamental faculty: consciousness, attention. What is consciousness? What is attention? Attention is that by which consciousness becomes aware what lies in its field. I don't know what is lying in my house because my house is in darkness. But when I start throwing the torch when I put on the light, when I throw attention at each thing, I suddenly become aware of what is lying in my house. So attention is the light, it is the torch light, it is the beam of light which allows consciousness to become aware of objects of consciousness. Now, attention is in two states. Either there is free attention or there is attached attention, seduced attention. I go to a store and I see something beautiful, my attention is attracted. My attention is seduced by that object. It may be a beautiful pen or something, right? And my consciousness gets attached to that object because of seduction of attention. Now, if I can free my attention from that object, then this allows consciousness to separate from that object, and then consciousness can be in two states, with that object as content, or it can be free of that object, a consciousness without any content in it. It is attention is the key. Attention is the bridging factor. Attention flows out of our senses every moment. That is why in Indian terminology they call the consciousness as Atma, but attention is Jeev, Dhyan. We don't have it in other languages, it's only in Gujarati that we say that Taro Jeev kya chote lo che. You say, this cannot be expressed in any other language. You know, somebody in class is looking at a girl all the time, you know, Jeev ye chokri ma chote lo che. In that girl, his Jeev, his attention is stuck. Attention is the soul. Consciousness is the Atma. But attention is a two-edged sword. If attention gets seduced by the objects of consciousness, then consciousness gets attached to that object. And if attention frees itself from the process of seduction, then consciousness separates from that object. Then consciousness is free of that object. Now, attention is there to look at the objects of consciousness. But in man, not in animals or in plants, but in man, there is consciousness itself is the source of attention. Consciousness, consciousness puts on the light so that attention goes out of the senses, goes out of the eyes, and I see this beautiful pen in the shop. Right? Now, in man, there is a property that attention can turn around and look at its own source, where it is coming from. And this is the whole spiritual journey, to separate attention from where all it is getting seduced and attaching consciousness, to turn it around and what is the source of attention? Where have you come from? What is your source? What is your spiritual home? Take it back to where it came. And in that movement of taking attention back, of separating attention, we suddenly experience a consciousness which is devoid of any content of consciousness, no thought, no feeling, because the attention is now not looking at thought, attention is not looking at feeling, attention is not looking at movement. Suddenly it is just looking at its own self, pure consciousness. And in that, there is an experience of that state of devoid of content, or consciousness devoid of content. And in that, there is pure knowing, and that is the state of prajna. But consciousness gets, attention gets seduced, and consciousness gets attached. And we say, this house is mine, this car is mine, this wife is mine, this son is mine. Everywhere attention has been seduced, consciousness gets attacked. And when consciousness gets attacked to the objects of consciousness, a false I is created, which we call ego. And this ego does not allow us to see that behind it is consciousness. It veils the consciousness. It creates a kind of parda, a kind of screen on the consciousness, which is known as Maya. So our work is to reach a state where we lift that veil, we lift that screen, and attention looks at consciousness where it came from, right? In Mr. Tavaria's language, he says, we reach a state where through the eyes of awareness, we look at consciousness, right? And in that state, we see pure consciousness, free of attachment to any objects, free of any content. And it is to this state to which we want to reach, to which we want to make effort to move towards. And this effort we call as work or sadhana. So we've taken consciousness and attention. We will take will in the next sutra, which we will take next week, next Tuesday, Tivra Samveganam Asana. For those whose will is highly awakened, Tavarya side says, the goal is very near. So we'll take that in the next sutra. Thank you. Anyone has a few questions? We can still spend about 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions. Sorry, I took a little longer today, but I wanted to finish this sutra today. Thank you. No questions. Sir?
Rajen bhai.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Yeah, please, sir.
When we say that we can achieve lot many things from prarthana, from the heart, core of the heart, does it convey that we try to reach to that consciousness which you are talking about, pure consciousness?
Yes. So we started with Shraddha.
Right. Okay.
Shraddha, Virya, we started with Shraddha.
Right.
But again, not blind belief. Not blind belief.
Right.
Right. There must be a, you see, the astral body has two, what do you call, dimensions. At a lower level, one is doubting, right? And at a lower level, one is comparison. Now, when these are transformed from comparison to higher discrimination, which we call Vivek, and from doubting to Shraddha, and we did see last time that we have to move through a whole verbal journey. We cannot deny thoughts. So we use our thoughts to doubt till we come to a state where we realize we are beyond doubt. And that is real Shraddha. Then real prarthana will start from there. But it cannot be just blind belief. But we did talk about it last time that even blind belief has its benefits, right? Yeah.
Does Prakriti create situations to pull your attention more and more?
She's asked a question whether Prakriti creates situation to seduce our attention. Of course, that's the work of Prakriti. Huh?
More and more.
Yeah, more and more. More and more. Yes, definitely. Please ask.
Yes, Nazia, go ahead.
Sir, cause, effect, cause of cause, and universal cause. So now, if I understand, there is something that seduces, and then I put my attention to it, then it will become cause.
No, that is an effect.
That is effect.
Right.
Okay.
But
So
I have a whole library of sanskars.
that will be cause of cause.
No, that will be the cause.
That will be cause.
The
Okay,
cause.
that is effect. Okay.
Can you, let's go this way. That supposing you and I go for a walk, right? And we go through a certain street, right? And then both of us sit down to write what we saw in that street, right? So I'll say, oh, I saw a dabeli wala, and I saw, oh, this beautiful bhajia happening over there, etc., etc. So by the end of the street, can you see I have only talked about food. My attention was seduced by food. It automatically went there.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it is because of the beautiful food that matters. But there is a sanskar inside, which is that library of sanskars, which is forcing my attention to go on to food. Now, supposing you write, oh, there was a beautiful library over here, and there was a beautiful bookstall over here, then your attention was going somewhere. Yes. Both our attention were going automatically. It was not in our control. Can you understand? But something within was the cause of attention being seduced over there.
So that sanskar is the cause. Then what is the cause of cause in that case?
In that case, the cause of cause is much deeper, is the motive. And sometimes it takes a long time to come to cause of cause, right? So why you may have a deep thirst of knowledge, which could be the cause of cause, right? And
that is not sanskar then.
No, sanskar is that you want to gather knowledge from here, from this book, from this book. But there is a deep thirst that you want to go beyond books, beyond words, and you're using books, you see, and it could be something much deeper than that. Right? And I may have a deeper, what do you call, cause of cause, that I want to write the best foodie article in the world or something. Right?
And then universal cause is something else. That is.
Then that motive, that cause of cause, is a small part of the universal cause.
Okay. Now
May I ask?
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
please. Yeah.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Please do. Please. I can't see you, but
Vatsala from Bangalore.
okay.
I've started my video. Namaste, sir.
Namaste. I can't see you.
You gave a beautiful example, but I was so amazed at what you said. I was reacting to it. I missed a point. Exactly what you were saying. Relationship problems where there is a conflict. You said, suppose I insult someone, that and that person's reaction is something, the effect, the cause of something which I have sown earlier.
Right.
How do we explain the relationship? You are making a very good point regarding resolution of relationship by cause and effect. Can you kindly tell that?
What I'm trying to say is that the seeds lie within us.
Yes.
Right? So we think the cause lies outside. But we cannot, at a certain level, we see that the seeds which we are holding will only invite these kind of situations in my life.
Yes.
Supposing I'm holding a, what do you call, library of 100 seeds of anger, right? Then they only desire of those 100 seeds together. This is their vibration of those 100 seeds together. Can you understand? their vibrational tone
Yes.
is to become 101.
101. Yes.
How can they become 101? By making me more angry once again. So if I become
Yes.
angry, then from 100 they become 101.
One.
I have sown a seed of anger and I've reaped one more seed of anger by becoming angry.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they will send an invisible message to you, you please insult this guy.
Mm.
And you will
Yes.
insult me. I will think, who
Yes.
are you to insult me? And I'll start calling you all kinds of names. But I will not realize that I have invited this situation. That is one way of looking at it. And of course, Gurdjieff says man is a machine. So in all relationships, if I look at the other person as the other person is mechanical, he or she cannot act in any other way. You cannot expect a machine to suddenly become conscious and act in a better way.
Because the seeds are already there.
Yeah, machine, they are going to act in the same mechanical. At a certain age, you cannot expect your parents to change. Can you see? They are going to repeat the same thing 10 times. Then you have to listen to it 10 times because that is the way the machine works. Right? So
our awareness, this point that it is that we have sown the causes seeds can get us out of this trap, isn't it?
So when my anger invites you to insult me, so that I become more angry, at that moment, if I become aware and I pause, I won't listen to you. I'm not. Then that very seed of anger which I sowed to make you insult me, that seed disintegrates. So now, how many are left inside? 99.
Yes, 99 rather than 101.
Right. So is it a moment of freedom? It is the sanskar was binding me. The chain was sanskar. It's a moment of freedom, right?
Yes. It's a wonderful bulb moment, sir. It has unraveled certain knots for me practically. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So I'll talk about myself. So when I get thoughts of comparison, thoughts of any negative emotion, and suddenly the same moment I'm thinking why I am into this, why the same thought has come, and I pause, and then I don't get attached with it. But the next time when that same thought comes, I'm thinking why again? So am I doing that moral policing on my thoughts every time because I'm thinking
you're looking at this thing in the wrong way.
Okay.
See, at this point, I've got angry.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can draw it on a picture, right? Now, here, I have observed my anger, like you're saying, you have looked at your anger and tried to be a little free of anger, right? Now, life moves around. And I come back to this point and again, I get angry. And you're saying, why is this happening again? But life is going to move in that mechanical circle because it has been repeated thousands and thousands of times through lifetime, right? What you have to see, is there a difference in the intensity of the anger? Even though the circle is the same, is there a small gap between? That is a spiral.
Yes, sir. It reduces.
Yes.
But I am worried why the thought is coming.
No, don't worry about it. Just look at the thought. Don't look, because worry will create more attachment, right? So just look at it. It is there. Accept it. It is there, right? And it is going to come again, and it is going to come again, and it is going to come again. And every time I will look at it with awareness till at one point it stops coming completely.
I love the example that you gave, that the people are passing by the house. You don't get attached to them. Don't invite them. Most of the times I do that. I put that danger sign on my mind, the moment I am getting it, shock lagega, you will have a current. Don't get involved.
Yeah, but don't do it out of fear.
No.
Do it out of understanding.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Shall we stop? Right?
Any other person? No, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, I would like to.
Yes, Vatsalaji.
That example of watching the screen, that's a lovely example, sir. It's a beautiful one. There are so many wonderful insights in today's lecture. Every time there is, but this time has been unusual.
Okay, shall we close?
Ji, sir.
Yes,
Thank you very much. We'll, with God's grace, meet next week.
Yes, sir.
We'll just say a small prayer. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahavirya karvavahi, tejasvina mavaditmatsu, ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Thank you.